Good evening. I am Urvashi Chauhan and you are watching Courts Today by Live Law. In today's episode, we cover the Supreme Court's stay on the 7/11 Mumbai blast acquittal, the latest on Udaipur Files movie stay, actor Darshan's bail case, the CJI's remarks on judges' appointments, the MP High Court's stand on judicial hierarchy, and some other important legal updates. Watch till the end and make sure to subscribe and hit the bell icon. A new update has come in the 7/11 Mumbai blast case, which has been in news this week after the Bombay High Court acquitted all 12 accused in the case. As you know that the state of Maharashtra has appealed against the High Court's decision before the top court, and today the matter was placed before the bench of Justices M.M. Sundaresh and N.K. Singh. The Supreme Court today issued notice in the criminal appeals. Solicitor General of India Tushar Mehta, appearing for the state of Maharashtra, requested a stay of the judgment, saying that some of the observations made by the High Court in the judgment can impact other pending trials under the MOCOCA. He also clarified that he was not seeking an order to direct the accused persons who have been released from prison following the judgment to surrender. To this, the bench replied that there was no question of bringing them back to the prison, but yes, taking note of the submissions made by the SG on the question of law, the bench directed that High Court's judgment shall not be treated as a precedent. To that extent, it will be stayed. 7 bombs had ripped through the local lines in Mumbai, killing 189 citizens and injuring 820 in the infamous 7/11 Mumbai blast in the year 2006. The High Court has held that the prosecution failed to establish the guilt of the 12 accused persons and that the accused were tortured by the anti-terrorism squad officers who were under pressure to find the culprits. As the real culprits remain at large and this case questions the menace of custodial torture and wrongful prosecution, it will be interesting to see how justice is pursued and what view will the Supreme Court take. Stay tuned. Coming to an update about the controversial film Udaipur Files, Kanhaiya Lal Taylor murder. The Supreme Court today said that those opposing the film's release should first challenge the centre's approval with 6 edits before the Delhi High Court. As for whether the temporary stay on the film's release will continue, the bench of Justices Suryakant and Joy Malia Bagchi said that it will decide tomorrow. The parties raising objections include Jamaat Ulema-e-Hind President Maulana Arshad Madni and Mohammad Javed, one of the accused in the murder case of Kanhaiya Lal. The bench was hearing 2 connected matters, a writ petition filed by Javed and a special leave petition filed by the filmmakers, that is Jani Firefox Media Private Limited, challenging the Delhi High Court's interim stay on the release. At the last hearing, the court had granted time for the petitioners to file their objections to the centre's order. Muslim scholar Maulana Arshad Madni approached the court against the release, filing the objection. He contended that it spreads communal hatred and wrongly shows Muslims as violent and anti-national. He also claims that the filmmaker has a history of creating communal tension. Madni wants the Supreme Court judges to personally watch the film before allowing its release. At today's hearing, senior advocate Kapil Sibal, appearing for Madni, objected to the composition of the expert committee, stating that members of CBFC who had initially cleared the film and individuals affiliated with the BJP were a part of it. He questioned the impartiality of the process, remarking that free speech cannot be hate speech, and contended that the film projected only one community in a negative light. Sibal also informed the court that Jamaat had filed a fresh writ petition challenging the centre's revisional order. Solicitor General Tushar Mehta defended the centre's decision, stating that CBFC had already mandated 55 cuts and the Ministry of Information and Broadcasting had ordered 6 additional edits after due review. Further in the hearing, senior advocate Menika Guruswamy, appearing for the accused Mohammad Javed, raised concerns about the impact on his right to a fair trial. She cited precedents where courts had stayed films with pending criminal cases, such as the film based on the 1992 Bombay blasts. She argued that under Section 6 of the Cinematograph Act, the central government could only cancel a certificate and not suggest further edits. Justice Suryakant assured that the judiciary would not be swayed by cinematic narratives, as the judges are trained and duty-bound to decide cases based solely on evidence. On the other hand, senior advocate Gaurav Bhatia, representing the producers of the film, argued that the film's release should be allowed since the centre's revisional process was complete now. He pointed out that the petitioner Mohammad Javed was not even named in the film. Bhatia invoked judgments such as Viacom 18 versus Union of India India, that is for the movie Padmavat, to underline that courts had consistently protected artistic freedom. He contended that with 61 total changes now incorporated, there was no valid reason to continue stalling the release. After hearing all the parties, the bench proposed that those aggrieved by the centre's order should approach the Delhi High Court under Article 226. Stay tuned to know if the interim stay will be extended until the High Court hears the matter. The Supreme Court has reserved its judgment on a plea filed by the state of Karnataka seeking cancellation of bail granted to Kannada actor Darshan and 6 others in the Renuka Swamy murder case. A bench of Justices J.B. Pardiwala and R. Madhavan heard arguments from both sides this week, raising serious concerns about the Karnataka High Court's decision to grant bail. Justice Pardiwala, in fact, observed in court that the High Court had practically written an order of acquittal instead of a bail order. The bench flagged 2 main issues. First, whether there is independent corroboration of the 2 eyewitnesses' accounts. And second, whether the High Court exercised its discretion properly in granting bail in a Section 302 murder case. The state of Karnataka, represented by senior advocate Siddharth Luthra, was asked to take the court through the FIR, CCTV footage, CDR records, serologist report, and the 2 eyewitness statements. Luthra also submitted that while in custody, Darshan was named in 2 more FIRs and was seen in the company of prosecution witnesses immediately after being released on interim bail. Senior advocate Siddharth Dave, appearing for actor Darshan, defended the High Court's order, arguing that the eyewitnesses' statements were recorded after a 12-day delay and were contradictory. He said that the prosecution was hiding the real story behind the crime and claimed that the charge sheet had no solid evidence to back up the statements made. Dave maintained that the High Court had exercised its judicial discretion and that the order was not binding on the trial court. But the bench did not appear convinced. Dave also informed the court that the charges are yet to be framed and that there are 272 witnesses. To this argument, Luthra responded that only 65 are material witnesses and that the trial court is expected to complete proceedings within 6 months. At this point, Justice Pardiwala again questioned as to why such a case should be prioritized for a day-to-day trial, while under trials are languishing in jails for years waiting for their turn. Brief submissions were also made by counsel appearing for actress Pavitra Gowda. She claimed that while she did tell her domestic help about the obscene messages she received from the deceased, she had no direct contact with the co-accused, including Darshan. This petition before the Supreme Court challenges Karnataka High Court's December 2024 order, which granted bail to actor Darshan, who is accused of abducting and torturing a 33-year-old fan, Renuka Swamy, who had allegedly sent obscene messages to actress Pavitra Gowda. According to the police, Darshan and others held the victim captive in a shed for 3 days in June 2024, subjected him to brutal torture, and later dumped his body in a drain. The High Court had granted bail to Darshan and others after a Sessions Court had earlier rejected their pleas. The state filed a special leave petition on which the Supreme Court issued notice in January this year. With the Supreme Court's judgment now reserved, the court's ruling could have significant implications for the standards applied by high courts while granting bail in serious criminal cases like murder. Delays in judicial appointments are once again in the spotlight, especially after 2 senior advocates recently withdrew their consent for judgeship due to prolonged inaction by the union government. Their names had been recommended as far as back in 2019, reiterated in 2021 and 2022, but were still not cleared. Chief Justice of India B.R. Gavai today said that the Supreme Court is actively pursuing on the administrative side the issue of pending judicial appointments with the union government. This came after senior advocate Arvind Datar and advocate Prashant Bhushan mentioned pending petitions in court seeking directions to ensure that the centre processes collegium recommendations within a fixed time. Datar pointed out that some names have been pending for years, even those recommended in 2019. He highlighted that due to these delays, 2 advocates, namely Rajesh Datar and Swatashri Majumdar, withdrew their consent to be appointed as High Court judges. CJI Gavai responded saying that efforts are ongoing to resolve the issue and several names have been cleared recently. However, concerns remain about candidates losing seniority or interest in the role because of prolonged delays. The petitions include a contempt plea by Advocates Association Bengaluru and a PIL by Common Cause, questioning the Union Law Ministry's failure to adhere to timelines laid down by the Supreme Court. While Advocate Prashant Bhushan today suggested setting a deadline, just like in the case of governors acting on bills, CJI Gawai stopped him and said that the matter is before a constitution bench and should not be discussed further at this stage. The case will be listed again after 2 weeks. Stay tuned. Moving ahead, the Madhya Pradesh High Court has made scathing observations about the relationship between High Court and District Court judges, calling it one between a feudal lord and serf. In a rare move, the court not only quashed the dismissal of a trial court judge but also awarded him 5 lakh compensation for the psychological subjugation and humiliation that he faced. The remarks go deeper, touching upon caste, colonial hangover, and the quiet fear that grips India's lower judiciary. To give you the background details, the case involved a judicial officer who had served nearly 28 years most recently as a special judge under the SC/ST Prevention of Atrocities Act. In 2015, his services were terminated by the administrative side of the High Court on the allegation that he had granted anticipatory bail to some accused persons but denied it to others in the Vyapam scam case. A departmental inquiry followed. He was found guilty of misconduct and his appeal was rejected in 2016. He then moved the High Court. The High Court found that only one of the 4 charges alleged any corruption or dishonest motive. The rest were based purely on differing judicial approaches to bail, something completely within a judge's discretion. Importantly, none of the accused persons complained, and the prosecution never challenged the bail order. Still, the judge was sacked. Calling it a case of gross injustice, the division bench of Justice Atul Sridharan and Justice Dinesh Kumar Paliwal restored his pension benefits, ordered repayment of back wages with 7% interest, and imposed a cost of 5 lakh to be paid to the judge by the respondents. But it was the court's observations on the larger judicial culture that calls for attention. The bench said, and I quote, "The relationship between judges of the High Court and the district judiciary is one between a feudal lord and a serf. The body language of the district judge when greeting a High Court judge stops short of groveling. District judges attending High Court judges on railway platforms with refreshments are commonplace. Judges on deputation to the High Court registry are rarely offered a seat and hesitate to sit even when asked." It further said that this pattern of subservience reflects a colonial decadence and what it called the subjugation and enslavement of the psyche of district judiciary judges. In probably the most hitting part, the bench linked this to caste structures, saying that at a subliminal level, the caste system manifests in the judicial structure. The court explained that where the High Court judges are the Savarnas and district judges are treated as less miserables or the oppressed. It noted that this fear results in poor justice delivery. Judges deny bail even in deserving cases, convict without evidence, and avoid discharging accused persons just to protect their jobs. To read this judgment in detail, you can visit www.livelaw.in. In another update, the West Bengal government has moved the Supreme Court challenging Calcutta High Court's order that stayed its newly issued list of other backward classes or OBCs. Senior advocate Kapil Sibal, appearing for the state, mentioned the matter before Chief Justice of India B.R. Gawai for urgent listing. The CJI agreed to list the case for hearing next Monday. Sibal said that High Court's order wrongly suggested that only a legislation can identify OBCs, which goes against established judgments. In response, CJI referred to the landmark Indira Sohne case and reiterated that executive has the power to identify OBCs. Sibal also informed the court that a contempt petition has been filed in the High Court regarding this issue and urged that those proceedings be stayed. The bench then said that it will take up the matter when it is listed. The High Court's order under challenge was passed on 17th June. Earlier in May, the same High Court had struck down the inclusion of 77 communities in the OBC list, calling the move politically motivated. The state had initially challenged that judgment in the Supreme Court, but later it would carry out a fresh exercise through the State Commission. However, when the new list was issued, the High Court observed that it seemed like an attempt to reintroduce the same categories that were already struck down, leading to the stay. And lastly, the Supreme Court has once again flagged the slow pace of trials in serious criminal cases. this time urging the union government and the Delhi government to consider setting up fast-track courts for gangster-related trials in the national capital. A bench of Justices Suryakant and Joy Malia Bagchi made the suggestion while hearing a case involving pending trials of alleged gangsters. The Additional Solicitor General S.T. Sanjay informed the court that as many as 288 such trials are pending in Delhi courts. Reacting strongly, the bench said that these trials must be taken up on a day-to-day basis and that if a dedicated mechanism like fast-track courts is introduced, all pending trials can be brought to a logical end. The court emphasized that such a mechanism will also require additional infrastructure, creation of new posts for judicial officers, and recruitment of support staff. It also suggested a separate ad hoc cadre of judges dedicated for this purpose. Importantly, the court said that some additional procedural directions may be issued later, like compulsory appearance of defense counsels, restriction on adjournments, and timelines for investigation and framing of charges. The bench also underlined the need for dedicated court complexes for hardened criminals and professional gangsters, saying that such facilities could prevent situations where accused persons are released on bail due to delay in trial. The court said that better safety and protection for witnesses is also urgently needed and asked everyone involved, like the central government, Delhi government, and the Delhi High Court, to work together on this issue. Justice Joy Malia Bagchi also weighed in and pointed out that the game plan in such cases is often to delay the trial until witnesses turn hostile. Finally, Justice Kant said that while the law must be followed, gangsters must be dealt with ruthlessly. There should be no misplaced sympathy for gangsters, as society needs to get rid of them.